Hey folks, Mel the Train Tutor back in the studio and back with the third and final part of our Let's Make a Demonic Blood Fantasy Altar type thing. Still haven't worked out a proper title for this yet, but it is looking brilliant. Now in the last two episodes we covered building it up, and then we covered all the fine detailing in the construction, and then the painting and the weathering, etc. And if you want to catch up on those, I'll throw a link up somewhere on the screen for you. Now we've reached the part where it's time to do our blood effects and our demon portal, and I wanted to do this as a separate video because the other videos were very much explaining time lapse, and I really want to take you through this, what I'm doing, so you can see, because it's a little bit complicated and there's lots to learn, and they're new techniques probably for you, but they're great results. Now before we do that, I have to go and take this piece and go and seal it because it hasn't been sealed yet. Now sealing we normally do at the end of a terrain project just to seal it all up, protect it, because they're pieces we game with, they're handled, stacked, stored, models placed on them, dice rolled on them and all sorts. Now in this case you can't do the sealing at the end. That's because I'm going to be sealing it with this stuff. Now this is Pro XL matte, car varnish, matte car spray. It's a brilliant spray from the automotive trade. It's a really good, you very rarely get any sort of problems going down with it, and it gives you a tough finish that's easily playable. Okay, now I've got to do that at this stage because I can't do it after I've added my resin effects, otherwise I'm just going to matte out all my lovely glossy water effects. So I've got to do it at this stage. But before I take this off and seal it, and we carry on with something else while it dries, I want to show you something. Now obviously you can see the horns here. Now my plan all along is to actually make this into a demon portal. And so if I bring it round here on the webcam, what I've done is I've cut out a bit of cardboard. It's just off the front of a notebook. And what it is it's cut perfectly, to fit between those two horns. Okay, as a template. So there you are, as you can see. It's in there, perfect fit. My horns aren't parallel, they're slightly off, so it was a little bit jiggy. Took a little jiggery and pokery to sort it out, but I got it sorted. So that's going to become very important when we get to the next stage. Okay, but first things, it's warmed up. I've got to give it a good shake, then take it outside and give it a spray. So I'll be back in just a sec. Here are some pics. So that's the skull all sealed up, and it's just drying over there. It looks a little bit glossy at the moment, but I'm used to that. I just know that. It's just curing, and give it give it a day and it'll be perfectly fine. That stuff normally cures off to touch dry in about half an hour, but when you're using sprays, you've got to remember they actually cure over a much longer period of time, and when they're curing they can be dry but not chemically fixed, and they're still giving off gases or degassing. Now this is important because if you're going to pour resin over something that you've previously sprayed sealant on, or primer, or anything that's still degassing, those gases can leak up into the resin and create bubbles. So the important thing is I've got to leave that until it doesn't smell anymore. When it stops smelling, it's stopped degassing, and then it's fine to actually put the resin on. And I know that's going to be about 24 hours for this stuff. Now in the meantime, that's okay because we've got something to do before we actually pour the resin onto that. We've got to make our portal. Now, before I sprayed it, I showed you my little triangle, well, my little arch for in between my horns. Now, I've taken that, and what I've done is I've created two templates. Now, these are 1mm plastic card, or maybe 2, I think it's 1mm, but relatively thin. And what I've done is I've just glued them onto two little pieces of foam because I want them overhanging. Now one of them is laid out that way, and then the other one is laid out that way, so the two halves can come together and they're the right shape. If I'd drawn them using both sides of the template, they'd be a bit wonky. I told you, my horns aren't straight. My horns are off. It's not a good thing. I did do that the right way round, didn't I? Now Mel's got to check. Just a sec. So after that quick palaver and doubt, yeah, I did it perfectly right. Thing is, with this, yeah, the last thing I wanted to do was end up doing it and then putting the two halves together and realising I've messed up a bit here. So we were right the first time. Now, put those two on side. We're done with our cardboard template. Now we've got our plastic out. What the next job is, we need to do our glass cast. Now, glass cast is, this is my resin of choice. This is glass cast 3. They do it in glass cast 3, 10 and 50. Yeah, the 50's for the really deep pours. This will do 3 to 10 mils quite easily. Yeah, it needs a minimum of sort of 3 mils pour, which is why it's called glass cast 3, I think. Yeah, I have to double check that. Always get confused by that. Yeah, there's information on Easy Composites website if you want to go check it out. But this is mixed 2 parts to 1 part hardener, okay, and it's done by weight. So the first thing I need to do is I need to mix them up. Now, I've given my glass cast a good mix. It's about 3 minutes to mix it up. Okay, and I've double potted. Now what that means is I poured it, mixed it into one, spent 2 minutes mixing that, and then poured the entire mix into a fresh cup and started mixing it in there. What that does is it makes sure you've got no uncured hardener or resin sort of in recesses around the bottom of the cup and that sort of stuff that get in the mix and don't mix properly. So by double cupping it, you're just making sure that all your resin is properly mixed. So what I'm going to do now is I've got another cup, and I just need to separate a little bit of this off for part of the effect. I think that should be enough, he says. Now, very quickly, I've got to get set up. So, I want some plastic. In this case, I've got a Sainsbury's carrier bag, which should do nicely. Yeah, this is because we're going to be making quite a bit of a mess. And then I want my 2 demonic portals right there. Okay, a bit of space in between those actually. Yeah, now the next job is I don't want my resin to be clear as such. A little bit more in there, I think. There you go. That's enough. I don't want my resin to be clear as such. So what I want to do is I want to put some paint into them. Now what I've got here is I've got some angelic blood from Badger Militaire. It's a nice blood colour. I don't have to mix my own. If you do want to mix your own sort of blood colour, go for a red and add just a touch of blue into it, and that will give it that rich purple sort of blood look. You can throw purple in there, but you'll need to throw more purple in there to pull the red across to that sort of purple tinge. Be careful with the blue. If you go in too strong, you're going to take the red straight to a purple. So if you're a little bit cautious, use a purple. If you're feeling brave, go with a little amount, use a blue, but add it to your red and that'll drag it to this. I can't really be bothered to do that right now, so I'm going to use this. Now, when you're adding to resin, you don't want to add more than 5-10% of acrylic to resin, because acrylic has water in it, and water and resin, it's an endothermic reaction. It'll start smoking and that sort of stuff if you add too much. So 5% is ideal. 10% you're going to have problems, so you don't want to be going near 10%. I'm going to judge it by eye because I know that 5% is pretty much a solid colour. Yeah, so I'm going to squirt all this in there. I think that's enough. And then I'm going to give it a good stir. And that's the colour I'm coming out with. It's a very rich, bloody red. And it is pretty much opaque once it's stirred up. If I bring that up, you can sort of see, you cannot see the whatchamacallit, or you're really struggling to see the wood on that. Okay, it's always a good idea to actually drag it out, have a look at it on something like, a stirring stick, because you can gauge how thick it'll have to be before you can actually start seeing wood. And that'll give you an idea of its actual opacity and its translucence. Now, this is enough in that one for me. So, that's our blood red. Worked beautifully. And then I need another stick and I need some black. Okay, can't have a demonic portal without black, and I do want this to be rather black. So, oh, making a mess there, Bo. So I've got to be careful because there's a lot less resin in this one. Yeah, so that 5%, 10% rule is a lot stronger. But that being said, throwing that acrylic in there has worked a treat. Give it a good stir. Good stir, Bosicle. There you go. Black and red. So now we get to the fun bit, okay? And the messy bit as well. So I've got my red resin here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it right over the top. Yeah, all over, and the same on this one. You'll notice I'm leaving a little bit, yeah, just in the middle. Oh, middle's filled in there. Yeah, I am perfectly fine with this sort of filling all over the top. That's cool. It's not a problem at all with it all running off everywhere. Right, now the fun bit. And, oh, before I start, I need my cocktail sticks. Okay, let me talk you through what we're going to do here. Now, this is a resin technique from the resin artists, and the idea is you can mix different colours to get different effects. So, if I give our black a stir, yeah, and now what I need to do is very carefully pour this black right into the centre. And I've got to be pretty bob on with this. Not too much, otherwise it'll flow off the edge, which it looks like it's doing. Oh, I've scraped it. Alright, next job, coming along with my cocktail stick. We're just going to see how we can do with this and drag them out into like little spikes. I'll drag it up there then. Come on. I'm not so worried about the little red marks in the middle because I can go in a minute and just put a little bit more black in. I think the reason why they're flowing a little bit that way is because my table's slightly sloped, which isn't ideal, so I'll just have to drag this lot back this way. And see if we can blend that out with a bit of red in a second. Right, put a little bit of red there, just to blend that out. Yeah, get rid of that bit there. Need a little bit of red on there, blend that out as well. He's doing a lot of blending. You're probably saying you shouldn't have poured it all, wasted it all then, Bo, should you? Oh, shut up. Just around the edges. Let's redefine that. Yeah, and same over here. All I'm doing now, by adding the red, I'm just flowing that black off the edge and redefining those borders. That's alright, I quite like that. Let's bring this over here a bit. Wiggle it in the middle. I'm trying to get it balanced from side to side. Right, a little bit more black in there, I think. Now obviously when you add more, it does push everything to the side, so be careful on that. A little bit more black just in the centre there. Oh, what's he doing, Bosicle? There we go, because I want that to be really dark. There we go. Now, as I said, it does take a little bit of jiggying to get this right, but it is right. Last job I've got to do, and I've got to go really careful with this one, yeah, is I've got bubbles on it. Now, you do get bubbles when you mix, epoxy and the resin. The reason being, it's a chemical reaction. It gives off a gas, and the gas creates bubbles. Also, you can trap air in there when you're stirring it, with it being quite a thick gel or a thick liquid. Look, as you're stirring it, you can whip it up, catch air in it, and then those air bubbles get sort of stuck in there. There is a way of dealing with it, and dead simple, it's a heat gun. Yeah, but I've got to go really careful. Yeah, because what I don't want to do is blow my resin off my pieces. And very quickly just redefine some of these swirls. Bring that a little bit that way. Go on, that's it. And you a little bit that way. Right, let's leave these to cure. So it's the morning after and our resin has dried. Come take a look at these. Now here we go, let's pop them off. They're only glued on with a little bit of PVA, so... Oh, he says. There we go. Bit of resin, got that. But if I turn around and show you, it's quite dark with that light, isn't it? Okay, and the other one, oh, that's come off right easy. And if I bring that one up, you can see the sort of portal effects. Yeah, it might be better on photos with it being a resin and it reflecting. It's sort of struggling with the light. Let me very quickly try them on that camera. I don't know. Don't know if you can see it. You'll probably see it better in the actual photos, but they do look beautiful. Now, there are some very slight pitted marks on them. This was because my resin was actually quite cold in here, to be perfectly honest. I didn't get all the bubbles. If you do get little pitted marks, quick coat or gloss coat will sort those. So we've got our pieces. Let me just move this out of the way. This is all cured. Yeah. And then I thought they'd stuck down. So there we are. Actually, that's a bit better, isn't it? There you go. Yeah, they are. You see those a bit better there. And that one. Looking good. Yeah, they are still a little bit dark. Don't worry about it, guys. Photos, you'll see them a bit better in a second. Now, next thing is, after they've all cured and everything, they have these drip marks underneath. Okay, you just need to take those off. Yeah, so it's just a matter of coming in with a blade and flicking them off. I'm trying not to not to sort of bend this or scratch this too much as I'm doing it. So what I'm going to do now is very quickly, I'm going to take these bits off, and then with a little bit of sandpaper, yeah, I'm just going to come in. I'll wear a mask, okay, because I am sanding resin here, so wear a mask when you sand resin. Okay, and I'm just going to sand this flat, okay, and these edges. So that's the, ooh, that was close. Careful, Bosicle. Well, it'd be typical, wouldn't it? The one time I do cut myself, I'm not actually holding the blade. Right, but yeah, that's the basic battle plan. I'm going to clean these up and make these flat again. And so the basic idea is so I can put these two things together. Okay, now once I've sanded them flat and put them together, yeah, I'll use a little bit of plastic glue, yeah, on the styrene. Yeah, just to glue those two pieces together. And to be truthful, guys, I'm going to come back when this is done, okay? So our piece is all dried, and as you can see, it's come out rather nice. I've cleaned it all up, sanded it, glued it together. The glue isn't completely dry, yeah, but it's dry. It's done that sort of plastic glue thing where it's dry enough, and because they're flat surfaces, I can work with it, so we might as well crack on. Okay, so I've got that piece there. Now, moving on to our actual skull, I had a little bit of a problem with that. Yeah, when I was varnishing it up, if you can perhaps notice, this side, these sides here, and this side there, Yeah, you can see it on the full screen there. What do you call it? It's come off a little bit glossy. Yeah, more satin than anything. Yeah, just around these parts here, around the front of the skull and around these sides. The top's fine. The what do you call it? The rim's absolutely fine. Now this is completely down to me. My can of spray matte varnish, it's almost empty. So I did that thing where I sprayed it all, and then because it was almost empty, you know, I used a quick blast with the rest of it, and I went in a bit heavy on the sides. Yeah. I specifically remember doing it all, and then last blast, right, I'll just go around the sides, give that another go. Yeah. Now, it has come off a little bit satin, as I said. I'm not overly concerned about that, to be perfectly honest. It's a bit cold in here. This building was built in the 1600s. Okay, 1700s, sorry, so the 16th century. And it's not great for holding in the heat, so my studio can be quite cold overnight. In fact, I think it's time to get the thermostat and the radiator back in and just keep a temperature, especially for our next resin work. So it's what you got. I think it's a matter because I can still smell it a little, so I think it's still curing off, to be perfectly honest. Now, so it has improved since I've been in here. I've been in about 4 hours today working on a few other things and pottering along. So it's getting better. So I think it is, by the time the project's finished, it will have matted out anyway. If it hasn't, yeah, I don't want to obviously come in with another spray, yeah, and give it another coat. It will sort it once it's cured, even if it cures completely with a little bit of a satin. It will cure it, but I've got my resin to put on. But I can go on with something like a brush on matte varnish and just go over the satiny areas with that, and that'll sort it all out. So I'm not concerned. Now, we've got to move on to the next stage, which is fixing our demonic portal in. So, let me bring that into shot there. Okay, now we've got my demonic portal here, and I just need to remember which way round it goes. Not that way, the other way. That's because my horns are slightly off. Yeah, now that's going to fit into there. Okay, so if I bring that round, yeah, it's going in between there. But I've got to sort of force it in a little bit. So, excuse me if I don't talk through this little bit. I've just got to get this wedged in. Yeah, so in we go. So one corner first, then the other. Now it is foam, it will jiggy a bit and it will move around a bit. There is a bit of play in it. I need to get it roughly slap bang in the middle. Whew. Right, a little bit of wiggling and our demon portal is almost in. This top bit, it's just, oh, that bevel. This is going to be one of those things that you could wiggle with forever. You know what I mean? A little bit this way, a little bit that way. Now, it isn't a perfect fit. There are some tiny little gaps. Yeah. That's where our next trick comes in. Hot glue. Now, I'm using hot glue because, yeah, it's inert. If I use super glue, it could react with the resin that I'm going to pour into it soon. If I use PVA, it will glue it, but I've got to wait for the PVA to dry, and there's a chance with it being raw PVA where I'm going to be pouring resin, it could reactivate and mess with the resin. Hot glue, once it's dry, it's completely inert, so I know I'm sound with it. What I've got to be really careful about, yeah, is the amount of hot glue that comes out and it doesn't end up all over my beautiful portal. So let's put, now that's coming out at quite a rate, isn't it? That's quite hot. I'm going to let this cool down a bit, okay? So, back in a flash. Ah, right, okay. Very nervous Mel there. Okay, and if I bring that down there, yeah, you can sort of see. If I turn it round, yeah, and bring it up, there you go. Yeah, you can sort of see the hot glue lines just there. Yeah, sorry about the wavy cameras, it's a little bit fiddly on that one. Okay, but very little hot glue just to fill the gaps around it. Now, that is stuck solid. I went a little bit at the top just to pin it. Then I filled the two little gaps at the side where my horns sort of bulged out a little and my template sort of come in a little. So probably just like 1 or 2 mil gap at most. Yeah, just for a couple of millimeters, maybe a centimetre there. So I filled those. Now, It is hot glue, but I intend to go over it with a bit of my resin, okay, and that's how I'm going to blend it in. So I'm not overly concerned about how it looks right now because I know it's just a stage, but I'll give you some photos and you guys can come back, when I'm ready to do the final resin pour and the more interesting stuff. So here's some photos and I'll see you in a sec. Bit of confession time, guys. Off camera, after I did the photos, I thought I'm going with a little bit more hot glue and fill some more gaps. And it came out a little bit bobbly because the hot glue was a little bit too close to the Yeah, I ended up with that weird rim there. Do you see it? Like a rim around the portal. Let me get that where you can see it there. Should be able to see it there. Now, I can see it and it's annoying the hell out of me. The problem is that the hot glue hasn't sat flush with the actual it's bubbled over and left a little rim. I don't want to go messing with more hot glue, but I need to blend this in. So the only thing I can really think of doing is, and it's ridiculous at this stage, but getting the filler out, taking it back, putting a little bit of filler in there, fill it up, dry it with a bit of a heat gun so it'll dry really quick. It's only a tiny amount of filler, so it should only take about 15-20 minutes to dry. Give it a quick coat of paint to blend it back in and we should be sorted. Yeah, now these things happen on terrain builds. Nothing in life is perfect, so you're along for the ride. I'm going to time-lapse this one just so I can sort of do it, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so wish me luck, and here's the time-lapse. So, all done and fixed, and I'll tell you what, this is really throwing things at me today, isn't it? Right, if I show you on that camera, you can see it in place. Now all I did was, I went in with a little bit of filler, filled these edges around here, then with a wet brush, smoothed them off, damp rag, cleaned off any excess, and then I just went in with an airbrush once it dried a bit, because it was only a little bit of filler, so it'll dry really quick. Yeah, I went in with an airbrush and a bit of black primer, and I just sprayed around the edges to blend it in. Now the front looks a lot better than the back does. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a couple of blobs of hot glue that I can see. Okay, and it's doing my nut in a bit. If this was a commission piece, all I'd do is go back with the filler, smooth them all out, fix them. I know I've got a solution for it with that filler and then cleaning it up and then spraying it. Yeah, but I think it's probably better just to show you guys. I'll throw a pick up. Right, next job is, that's all in, it's solid. Yeah, so we don't have to worry about that. I've dry brushed my foam up with a couple of little layers, just off a little sample pot I've got here, a mixing pot that I keep. I always keep the paints that I've used at various stages. I always take a bit out and throw them into a pot and just save them. That way, if I need to come back and take it back through the grey steps, I've got a sample of each of the grey steps I use with dry brushing, so I can bring it very quickly back up. Quick tip for you, when you're mixing it up and you're lighting it, just take a little bit out, put it in a pot, put a bit of cling film over the top, just so it's airtight and it stays, and keep it at the side of the project. That way, if you ever need to come back and you've done a change, like going back to the filler stage, you can quickly come back and just like, right, those are my shades, you can clearly see them in the colour tones what you need, and you just work your way up through them. Easy peasy, guys. Now we're at the stage that we need to do the other resin work and finish this piece. So I've got little bits of filling, it's doing me nutting. Get off. They'll disappear under the resin, but it's still doing my nutting. Right, we've got to do the resin. So once again, yeah, glass cast 3. And I'm going to get stuck in and mix it all up. It's nice and warm, so it should flow well. I'm going to mix it up, and once again, I'm going to go for black and red colours. Okay, but I've got a slightly different technique to show you with that one. So I'll crack on with that in just a second. Let me get mixed up. So my resin's all mixed up and it's time to start getting work on this. Okay, so if I bring it across. Now, first thing I want to do is, before I start even mixing and adding colours into my resin, I've got a few of these demon skulls on here. Okay, and all I want to do is get an old brush. Yeah, this one I'll do. This is going to knacker the brush, so use an old one, or a cheap one. These are acrylic brushes for nail art. You get like 20 for like £2. Yeah, and I'm just going to get the resin, and all I want to do is just brush over my demonic skulls. The reason for this is quite simple, okay. The resin is not going to go over the top of the skulls, which means they're not going to get a glossy look. Yeah, now I could do this with gloss varnish, but then I'd have to wait for the gloss varnish to cure off before I could pour the resin, whereas if I just do it with a little bit of resin, the resin will cure along with the resin pour. Well, that's the plan anyway, you know what I mean? It always has in the past. But with the way this demon thing's going, you never know. So very quickly, just get these brushed up. Right, now that's done, it's time to actually mix up some colours. So we're going to go with red and black again, same with our portal. Very quickly, I'll just move that to the side, mix up some resin. So we want a little bit for the black, we don't need that much. That should easily do it. Maybe a little bit much, we'll see. Yeah, next job. Our angelic blood from Badger Minotaur. Let's put some of that in. Keep going, and a bit more, and a bit more. That should be enough. No more than 5-10%, guys. Yeah, and then it's stirring time. That's nice and thick. Right, are we ready for pouring? We are. I've got to be very careful about how I handle this because I've got resin on there. So pick those up, move those out of the way. That's my resin for the black, so put black with that, so don't forget it. Yeah, move that over to there. Yeah, I'm lifting it up like this because there's I've got resin on my hands and stuff like that, so I don't want to get it on the piece. Not where it shouldn't go. Right. Oh, another bottom wobble of time. Pour it in. I've got to be really careful here. When you're pouring, one really good tip is after you finish pouring, tilt your cup back towards you a little. It just helps with those little odd drops that tend to sort of drop out when you do this sort of thing. Yeah. Put a blob there. Oh, I've got it on my thing. Come on, off you come. You're coming out right now. I'll have to touch that up with my, my little bits of paint afterwards. Right. I'll be honest, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. Too many fiddly bits, and I'm probably going to have to go in and add more in, but we're just going to have to see what we can do with what we've got so far. So, I've got a bit of a little wooden stick, and all I'm going to do now is just tease this resin up to the edges. Yeah, it will settle, yeah, but it's easier to get it to the edges with something like a stick like this, and then let the resin self-level, than to try and try and pour it into the edges. It just won't go, guys, trust me. So I'm going to crack on and just tease this into the relevant places. Oh, right, that's all the red in, and it is looking brilliant. Okay, it's really coming together. I've positioned it this way because my table's got a slight slope to it, and I'm hoping that that will pull the resin extra pour that I put there just down this way a little, just a little. We'll see how that goes. Right, next. Right, that was the stuff that I mixed for the black, so let's throw some black in. Okay, now as I'm throwing the black in, it's going to go in a couple of places. I want some demonic effects around it, and I also need to get it by the portal because that line, transition line, where it's too much. Yeah, whether I have enough resin without it going over and causing me problems because I filled that too much, I don't know. Yeah, but only one way to find out in there. Right, next job. Is start putting the black in. Now I'm using the stick for this so I can control it a bit better. All I'm doing is I'm dabbling it. Do you remember when we did our portals? Yeah? And we just dabbed it in and touched it on. That's all I'm doing. Just on this edge. Oh, I've gone up a bit there. I need to get rid of that, otherwise that's going to ruin my portal. And a little bit. Come on. Come on. You can do it, Bow Skull. Right, I'm going to crack on doing this. Oh, right, that's the portals blended in with not too much problems. A little bit over onto onto my demon skull there. So, a little bit of red, let's get that in. Yeah, if I just bring this in here, yeah, I can drag that black away from it. And just reaffirm it, if you know what I mean. There we go. Right. How's that still recording? Yeah. Right, now to add the rest of our black. What I'm going to do is dribble it. I won't lie to you, that was nervous as hell. I went over in a couple of places. I may have to touch up some paintwork. It's the way it goes. I've got my paint, so I'm not going to worry. Right, next thing is toothpick. Yeah, drag these out a bit and make them a bit demonic. Yeah, because they're a bit squiggly at the minute. You don't need to get them perfect. Okay, you just need to break them up a bit and drag that black around a bit. Right, now that all that's done, next job is I just need to degas it and just get the bubbles off the top. So for that, good old heat gun. And that's it, that's all done, guys. Yeah, my next job is that steady sort of propping up so it doesn't flow too much anywhere and all that sort of stuff, and we've just got to leave this to dry now. Now I have gone over in a couple of places. I can see I'm going to have to come up and touch that up. That's not a problem, I can do that. Yeah, so I just want to prop this up a little bit so it doesn't flow the wrong way. There we go. And I think we're on a winner. Right, I'll see you when this cures. And she's done. And doesn't she look beautiful? I mean, oh, absolutely stunning as a centerpiece. I mean, it's all dry, yeah, everything's touchable and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. The bow's done good. Right, a couple of little caveats, and I need to be honest with you guys as always. Now, after I finished doing this and I came in this morning, there was a couple of places where I'd gone off with the resin, as you saw previously. All I did was I came in and I gave it a quick touch up of Vallejo matte varnish. Now, normally I use Humbrol, so I've never used Vallejo matte varnish before. My local hobby shop didn't have it in stock, my Humbrol, and so I picked up Vallejo. Now, it's worked perfectly. There were a couple of spots that had gone over and a bit of leaks that I cleaned up. Now, one particular point, yeah, was this point here. You can probably see it's a little bit more shiny than the others. I had to go in quite heavy there. Where the others have dried, this one's still got a bit of a glossy look. Now, I don't know if I need to put a second coat on it or I need to leave this to dry a bit longer. The others have dried fine. It's just I've got no experience with the Vallejo. So, that little bit, you'll have to give me caveats at that. It may dry, it may not, and I may need to give it a second coat. Don't know, not used it before. Okay, now on the plus side, you'll notice it's not as glossy either. Our issue with the glossiness has resolved itself, yeah, it's matted out quite nice. It's still got, just in the very recesses, a little hint of gloss, yeah, but there's still a little bit of a smell to it, just a little gentle one, so I reckon that's going to cure off absolutely fine. Yeah, so Mel's a happy chappy. The only other thing that I did, yeah, was on this portal, all I did was, because I'd matte varnished it, I'd gone over where I'd used red ink to use the blood on this little bit here. So I just got a little bit of red ink from GW. I think that pot's about 20 years old. I'm not joking. Yeah, and all I did was I just went over here and just added a little more, just so it's a little bit more wet looking. I meant to do it with the red resin, but I forgot. Simple as. So guys, I know this hasn't been a two-parter, we went into a three-parter, but personally, I think for those sort of resin effects, do you know what I mean? Absolutely beautiful. And if I show you on this camera, because that one's probably a better picture, absolutely beautiful. I really like this piece. It's been ages since I've done anything fantasy. I used to be an Undead player, so this is right up my street. Undead with Chaos Allies. So this is right up my street, but as I said, I haven't done it in ages. Might have to do some more. Listen, if you do want more of this sort of stuff, then dead simple. Let me know in the comments, what sort of fantasy stuff would you like me to handle? I do enjoy it, and it's been a bit of a blast. Now, finally, obviously, like it, share it, all that sort of stuff. Quick shout out for you patrons. I've lost over the past year probably about a quarter of the support I have on Patreon. Just one of those things, so I'm trying to bump it back up. So, since I've done a time-lapse footage of all this, what I thought of doing was I've put that together into a long video, and it's about an hour to an hour and a half. I've still got to trim it up, but I'm narrating it. So, if you'd like to follow this project through with the afterthoughts, the narration, and all my little thoughts and tips and that sort of stuff, then patrons, go check that on Patreon. It should be out in the next day or two. And if you're not on Patreon, then it's a great way of supporting this channel and supporting me and what I do here, helping you with your hobby. All I ask is $1 a month, just $1 from everyone. It all goes in a big pot, keeps the lights on, the cameras rolling, helps me feed the kids and keep you guys happy. So it's a win-win all round. And let's be honest, there's not much you can buy from $1, but you can make this old man, this grey old man, pretty happy, you know what I mean? So, check it out on Patreon. If you're not into the regular thing, then there's links down below so you can send a PayPal tip, or you can jump on the Amazon Studio list, grab something for the studio. It all helps, guys. And in the meantime, I'm going to leave you with this absolute beauty. It's been a pleasure building it for you guys, it really has. I'll see you soon in another video, yeah? All the best. Ta-da.